businesses we know that went out of business over the last year because forced to shut down, forced to do only delivery or sidewalk deliveries. So you forced dozens and dozens of small mom and pop businesses to go out, yet Target and Walmart and all these big conglomerate monopoly that are donating hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to these people's campaign funds, and the laws are being catered.
All that.
The laws are being catered to these corporations because they're paying them to do it. They're allowed to stay open in full function with lines down the block, and the guy on the corner has to shut down.
Well, that's the country we are living in right now,
and
you
it's
know what?
Slowly becoming more and more of that.
And it's starting to piss a lot of people off, and they're gonna keep pushing. This country has a funny way of fixing itself.
Well, I mean, at some point, there has to be an uprising and a revolt.
It hasn't happened in a long time.
I think there has to be. Due to happen.
Somebody needs to kick some goddamn teeth in because this has to stop.
There has to be.
Our children are going to be fighting the wars that are being started today.
And not to be political and a Trump supporter and all this, but I mean, obviously I am, but I don't need to speak on his behalf and say, "Oh, Trump was this." He was the patriotic America backing that was keeping it from becoming what it is now. He was all about making it America for America and strong and self-independent and our own manufacturing and factories and everything here, self-sufficient. He was cutting out all the other countries so that we were doing all our own stuff.
Sure.
And it was working.
Yeah.
And not only now did they stop that, they reversed it tenfold.
You know what made me one thing? I'm not a big Trump supporter. I'm more in the middle of like, okay, let me listen to this guy, let me listen to that guy.
But open mind always.
The one thing that I've noticed under Trump's regime,
right,
is how hard they went after him. I'm like, this guy's got to be doing something right because he is pissing off.
Every day.
They were
non-stop,
constantly in court, impeachment, and this.
They tried everything.
They pulled everything
not only
out.
Did they try everything. They fabricated and paid people to lie
blatantly,
just to get it. Like if nothing else worked, we'll do this then.
CNN, MSNBC was a form of entertainment.
Of course.
Fox News, they were a form of entertainment. Now,
so here's like you say. You don't have to be a big Trump fan. I don't have to like him as a person. I would never probably go out and hang out with him or go to dinner with him.
Nah, me neither.
I'm not inviting him to my house. But for the greater good of the country-wise, he's a businessman who was running the country like a business, and it was flourishing. Like I said, people, he was racist or he was sexist. I don't have to like the guy. I have to like what he's doing to the country.
His policies.
I don't have to hang out with you.
Right. It was his policies.
He might not be my best friend. He might not be a guy I would choose to be friends with. But from a country standpoint, he was doing the right thing.
I just find
now you got a guy who I wouldn't hang out with and is not doing the right thing.
Right. So that brings me to my next.
You got to get the lesser.
Bro, they got this guy propped up with a pole because he can't stand. He's like
he go back to Disney.
Bro, we're literally a night and day country, and nobody's saying anything about what's going on. Like Biden's his first year in office, and you hardly hear about him. You hardly see him. And now this whole
Trump was on the news every day. Trump was on the mic every day, making addresses, making announcements, making whatever. Every day you heard from him, you saw him. You knew what he was doing, whatever he was working towards next, whatever his policy was. Yeah. Biden, you never see. I haven't seen him at a press conference or make an announcement or do anything.
I think Biden died a couple months ago.
Well, listen,
it's all CGI now. Steven Spielberg.
It's right back to like we started the conversation with Disney. He's an animatronic Disney character. He stands there and they just feed microphone through him and he talks, and he doesn't even know what's going on.
He's got guy like behind the scenes like Vinny, fucking. Right. All right, he's fucking up. We can get him.
Biden's. Yeah, we get at Biden's.
It's true.
It's unbelievable, because
it's funny and it's sad and it's scary.
He contradicts himself constantly. He says the wrong things. He's not as intellectual as they try to make him out to be.
No.
He says things and I say, what? I mean, half the memes and half the videos you see of him messing up are true. They're not making those. They're just posting them.
You ever see him stutter? Bro, that's a glitch in the matrix. That was a glitch. He was glitched out, man.
Yeah, like the computer chip.
Yeah, man. They just started. I was waiting for sparks starting coming out his neck.
Like the movie Total Recall, like when the woman goes through the X-ray thing and she goes.
Well, he definitely has like an electronic defibrillator that's kind of like losing power.
Like it skips.
Yeah, it skips.
The battery's
kind of like goes with it.
They're behind the scenes pressing it and he jumps.
I mean,
exactly.
It's horrible.
It's
horrible.
He doesn't
almost sad.
He doesn't show any strength. Like I see a weak old man that's being controlled by.
He just said something now about the Taliban. He pulled the troops out of Afghanistan, and the Taliban resurged already. They're already up back in town.
They're up, literally. There's a video that just started circulating this morning. So they're on this tarmac. The Air Force
helicopters
planes are taking off the tarmac. They're running alongside of it, hanging. Oh, sorry about that.
Get a little ashy ash.
It's good ash. It's good ash. You know, it's kind of like
I love good ash.
Like a good ash.
And they literally showed two bodies falling from the plane in the air. They hung on.
So here's something funny.
It's so reminiscent of 9/11.
Of course.
It's so bad.
So here's something that you just said. They posted a Biden speech from, I don't know when it was for, but he had said, you're not going to see, in comparing Afghanistan to like the Vietnam War or whatever it was, he was saying, this won't happen and that won't happen, and in this era of our life, our country, you'll never see helicopters removing United States citizens from the roof of the consulate or the U.S. What do they call it?
That was in Vietnam.
They were taking
and they were throwing Hueys in the water
off the roofs. The like Americans were waving to the helicopters to take you away. He said, "You'll never see that again. It just won't happen. It's not that level of war or whatever it is." And the next video they put up just happened this week. They're removing humans from the roof of the U.S. Embassy with helicopters. It's exactly what he said wouldn't happen is happening. We have to remove our people from the Afghanistan U.S. Embassy because they're resurgence. They're attacking.
So history's repeating itself.
And they're trying to erase it. And you know what's funny?
And his exact words verbatim were,
but it's a cause.
You'll never see that happen. That won't happen.
It's a cause and effect. That's what it is.
I served, you served, and we fought this not people, but more like an ideology, this Taliban, this insurgent, this terrorism. And now 20 years of war, sacrifice, seeing our friends die, seeing things change. Right. But we held on to that idea, and now it's all gonna reinsurge. It's all just gonna and it's gonna. You know what's gonna happen? They're gonna be stronger.
Well, isn't there a saying
more funded?
That says something about history? Those who something to the effect that those who refuse to learn history are forced to repeat it. Something to that effect, right? Is that saying?
No, but that was a wise man. Yeah, that's the truth because they're erasing it too right now. If you didn't learn
from it, and you didn't change it due to what you learned, it's going to happen again, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And what are they doing in history? When you pointed it out, they're erasing it.
They're erasing history. They're starting.
But it's
disgusting.
Other
problem is this. Yeah. With this generation upcoming, and I think we spoke about this too. You don't have any patriotic supporters for the country. They're against us. This new generation, for the most part, I won't say all of them because that's a general statement, but a lot of these kids are foreign sympathizers and against our country for the wars and for being racial profiling, and they want us to open the borders and allow in all the Middle Eastern and all the terroristic countries, so they go against our own country. And I said to you this, had we ever had another war where there was a draft or anything, we'd have half of them being deserters helping the other side.
AWOLs left and right.
100%. They're not going to war. These kids are not going to war. They're not built for war. So they would be sympathizers of the other side. They would be AWOL or what they call conscientious objectors. No one's going to war.
I won't do it. No.
They will not do it.
You know what's funny?
We're in trouble. We lose.
I recently spoke to a recruiter Moses, staff sergeant. You're the man.
Was this you telling me about the only way they can get people now to join?
So what he told me, the military is revamping the way they are approaching these kids nowadays because you have to approach them
like
recruiters. Recruiters. So
that's what we were saying.
He told me,
you can't recruit a guy to be proud American and go defend your country and fight. Yeah, you have to go in under the guise that we're going to give you a college degree for engineering.
That should be instilled. The patriotism should have been instilled in school, but they don't instill that no more. No. I remember I came to this country and I was Polish, and I came, and they made me hold my hand. I pledge allegiance to the flag for which it stands.
Listen, you uphold the rights and the...
They don't do that no more.
No, of course not.
And so what he told me, that in the last, I want to be a little accurate, but in the last 6 months, I was in the infantry as a grunt.
Which is guaranteed to see action.
Right.
You're front line, in chess, you're the pawn.
Right. That's what you do. You're a war fighter.
Yeah, you're going in.
In the last 6 months, they only recruited one grunt. That is crazy.
It's dangerous.
That is so. Where are they? Where are these kids? Who's going to fight these wars?
Well, understand.
I'm getting
also,
old.
Yeah, well, that's what I say.
I'll go in,
if they pull us in now, who's going to fight? Us? But I also believe a lot of that is because it's very rare that you're in trenches on the front line laying with rifles shooting anymore. Everything now is pressing buttons and in machines that launch weapons. So they have to have more technical educated people and more computer savvy people because the wars are fought more technically than physically.
No, that's
so maybe
true.
That's it. They don't have grunts because...
But you still need boots on the ground. But you still got
to have guys going into buildings
100%,
and clearing it and ammunition depots and...
Everything.
Well, you're offering incentives for COVID shots. Offer incentives, then make it where they could actually see a future.
Well, understand this: they're offering incentives.
I like that.
They're offering incentives to COVID shots for the people like us who are against it. Those people, the ones that won't go to war, are all for the vaccine. They're all getting it. They're all believing in it. They all swear by it. The liberals and all progressives. They're all getting it. They're all happy to get it. They're not going to war. So you couldn't give them an incentive to go to war. They're against the war, but they're for the vaccine. We're against the vaccine and for the war. So they don't have to give us incentives to go to war. They have to give us incentives to take the vaccine.
It's like a new form of religion.
It's like an opposite, like a seesaw.
Yeah. Don't you see a pattern forming here where the next war is going to be fought against the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated?
Well, I also think
that's what I'm starting to do.
I said to somebody else, or my friend on Facebook, this kid Paul. I said, understand, we did their job for them. They separated us and weakened us so we can't fight back against the government because divided we fall. By having first racism that they resurfaced at an all-time high now. It was never this high since the 60s.
I know, we're regressing back for some reason.
All of a sudden, racism is the number one thing on the agenda. So now they weakened us by separating the races, right? We're killing each other. That's less that they have to fight against. Now it's vaccinated against unvaccinated. We're divided more. So instead of them having to take over 100% of the public in a revolt, or when they're ready to come and take our guns and take over the country, what do they really have left? 30%? It's easy for them to take over 30% because everyone's against each other. We already weakened the fabric.
Yeah, but that 30%...
Yeah, they're hardcore and they're ready to fight, but it's still not enough to take over a government. You know what I mean?
Unless you take that 30% we did like in the movies, try to convince
we did like in the movies where they have these hidden, soldier training, like
an insurgency.
Like if you saw like in the Terminator, there were different places where they were fighting against the machines, they were underground hidden.
Oh, now you're starting to talk my language, my friend.
So
I like that.
And then they would travel miles and miles across land to try to find another group of people that they thought were out there that were with them. And you didn't know if they were there or not. You got a message or a coded sound, and you say they're there. They're at this, this coordinate, and they go. And you'd find another group, and there's 100 people there, and now we have 100 people, and they start grouping together, and now we have to find more people.
Wait, do you know something we don't? Like,
you're onto something.
Yeah, what do you?
I didn't want to tell you. I got the
listen. You got the memo
of a militia. Then I'm in.
Seriously, bro.
And you see the bat signal, just come.
I'm in
because I'm telling you, that's what it's leading to.
It's going to be a big ass dumbbell.
Groups, right?
Or a cigar.
To see the smoke.
The juggernaut.
But that's what it comes down to. It's getting to the point where now you have to get factions all joining together to now group against.
That's a modern uprising.
There has to be some type of revolt.
There has to be one to end this. Something has to happen. They cannot continue oppressing us.
So you said how easy it was for them to just tell the public what to do, and they rolled over and showed their soft underbelly to the government. Oh, we have to stay in for 3 months? Okay, no problem. Oh, you have to take a vaccine? Okay, no problem. Like a dog, it rolled over submissive, and you rub the belly. Nobody questioned it. Nobody fought back. Nobody resisted. They rolled over and allowed it. That was a trial run in the beginning. The first few weeks, it was only going to be 5 weeks. It was only going to be 2 months. 14 months, 15 months later, it's still happening, and they're pushing even harder, and they're taking away more things. So that was a trial. Let's see how many we can get on board, and let's see how many we can control.
But that's whipping people. That's whipping people. You whip them once, they get in line. They get out of line, you whip them again. You keep whipping them until they just stop moving or stagnant. I'm sorry.
Do you think that there's some irony in these when it comes to COVID and these UFO quote unquote top secret classified cases now coming out that they're making public? Do you think that maybe there's some sort of like...
You mean like with these UFO things that people always say sightings of?
But it seems like they seem to be in the news at the same time as COVID.
I did notice that.
You wonder if...
I don't know if I'm a...
Right.
Yeah,
but it's like a mix to where people kind of like...
So what I do think is this. I feel like if there were aliens and if there were UFOs and a higher intelligence in another planet, I don't think they'd want to come here. I think they would look at us and say, if they were that intelligent and that far surpassed for us, they would say,
we're going back.
Look at that place. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Stay where we are.
Yeah.
Coming here to take us over would be no benefit. The country, the globe is destroyed. We destroyed this planet at such an alarming rate, and we depleted this planet that they gave us that was self-sufficient, that could have lasted forever, to the point of it's almost going to like implode.
Well, most of the sightings occur near nuclear power plant
Right, so
areas,
here's what I'll say.
So,
I don't know that it's alien sightings in as much as maybe Air Force testing or the government testing
uranium,
that
all that
people
stuff.
are seeing, because they always find a way to cover it up, and it's always in restricted areas that we're not allowed to get to.
Right.
So it's very possibly Air Force governmental training of whatever planes or military, things that they're testing to see that's going to work. The time comes that they're going to revolt, take over the government, take over the public. So they don't want anybody to know what exists as far as technology, as far as machinery or planes or whatever. Because how could there be that many UFO sightings and never any proof or evidence?
Well, the red carpet is, in my opinion, I think the red carpet is the battle to space 2.0 now. Now we have a new battle. Now it's just not who can get some to the moon
didn't the
quicker.
two guys go? These two billionaires. Who's the guy? Belzo. What's his name?
Jeff Bezos.
Bezos went
on his dick on
the penis.
He went.
The
flew up in his face with a dick.
The guy from Tesla.
Oh, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. Well, the two space flights so far that tested, I guess, that went against gravity just at that borderline was Bezos and the Virgin Atlantic guy, the Richard Branson or something.
Yeah, but isn't now Elon Musk?
Elon Musk is now doing
space centers on Mars.
That's what he's talking about. His own Mars.
That's what I'm saying. So it's these billionaire guys who are planning on rehabitating other planets. But the truth of the matter is, if there were Martians, I could almost see them preventing us from coming there.
Yeah, right? If they're watching us, they're like, nah.
Think of it this way, and this is like a far out thought. But say we're like an ant farm for a Martian child. The Earth was his science project for school. Some Martian, it's super advanced, elite race. And the Earth was something the father gave him. Said, here, this is something for you to play with. And he inhabited it. Here, some sea monkeys.
Like a chia pet.
Yeah, there's some sea monkeys. Then they built this. And nuclear weapons, and they depleted the ocean, and the rainforests. Half our oxygen is gone.
Man, that is fucking. You really thought
they're
about
burning
that.
right
That's
now.
Crazy.
Well, this is just what I think.
That's awesome.
Right now, the rainforest is burning. 70% of the rainforest is on fire. It's where we get our oxygen from. That accounts for half of the world's oxygen. So we're suffering now with less oxygen. So this kid, this big-eyed, globbed head, long-fingered alien has the Earth, and it's an ant farm. And he's watching, look, Dad, they made tunnels and they did this, and now it's completely destroyed. We wrecked it. And he'd say, what happened to your science project? You're going to get an F because it's failed.
Yeah.
If this was his science project and his just toy, they would never come here and want to live here. They got to be living better where they are.
Yeah.
So we're done for. We're just a failed project.
That's a good one. That's a very interesting
that would be the case.
way
like we were just some kind of ant farm
to look at
super elite race. Maybe. But my other thoughts are also it's a crazy thought. Imagine I don't smoke weed or do drugs at all.
No, but that's impressive that you're able to get
that. My other thought I used to say to people when they say to me, "Yo, you see the world in the state that it's in," and you said, "I've seen over my lifetime generational change and how it's become this." And I used to say, sometimes I say to people, maybe this is not even really happening. Maybe I had an accident or I suffered some kind of illness and I'm actually in the hospital in a coma.
Got you. Way more noise. Sorry.
So think about this. I'm in the hospital in a coma. And this world that's happening is my brain just fabricating an existence, like what's going on.
That messes with me way too much.
I'm not really here. This is not really happening. I'm in the hospital in a coma and family is sitting vigil bedside trying to talk to me, and I know he hears us and he's going to come out of this, but I'm in a vegetated state. And your brain, as a survival mechanism, creates a whole life existence.
A whole life.
And all of this that's happening to me is just my coma life. It's not real. Because I walk around sometimes and say, this can't be real. This absolutely cannot be real. On a daily basis, I see things and I go, that can't be real.
Well, kind of like what you see in the news. You're like, what's wrong is right and what's right is wrong.
So in my head, I'm making that up. It's not real. I made that up. I fabricated that scenario. Because
so you think maybe one day you'll wake up like
and we'll
right after this?
Like we were?
Yeah.
I want to believe that was the case.
That's
I wish that was
interesting
the case. Yes.
way of thinking about
say
things.
I'm in a coma. It's already been like 6 years, 7 years. And all of this stuff that's happened in the last 6 or 7 years is just my brain making it up. Say a year from now,
Wait, you making this up right now, man? You're freaking me out. Don't freak me out.
I'm about to now I come out of the coma, and we're actually right back to the way we were prior to all of this COVID and liberalism and feminism and Me Too and all of the craziness. That never really even happened. We'll go right back to day one when I wake up and I'll say, oh, what a bad dream, or what a crazy mind I had when I was in my coma state.
Or maybe
OTB and put some
right, like you'll be back
Holy
into a whole
crap.
Maybe you'll wake up on the flat bench and Anthony is fucking
right.
like next to you telling you how
I come
to
out of a
do
coma. I never even worked out a day in my life.
What if we're
I
just
made up this whole scenario? I'm not a guy who works out. When I come out of the coma, I'm like a marathon runner or a CrossFitter.
What if we're just a figment of your imagination?
We're
Saying. Not even real.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know because
all right, we gotta
really
pause here because
you give
it's
this
about
guy a pound or a hug, he doesn't feel like a figment of my imagination. He's not no phantom.
You're real. Whoa, that's real. Damn.
But think about
that's
that.
real
Oh,
strength. Yeah, that's all real.
I say to myself, it's got to be the case because it could not possibly be day in, day out, this amount of things happening that just doesn't
Or
work.
is it also, could it be also how you're projecting everything? Remember how you said, like now I get like a little bit irritated to the point where like I don't want to deal with shit. So I also feel like maybe there's kind of like that angle too. Like you're just looking at things differently just because that's just life. Like we experience it. So now we know what it's like, and
so
because
we're in the situation that we're in now, because we're in the situation that we're in now, my mind looks for coping mechanisms to deal with what we're dealing with. Because, like you say, I walk around on a daily basis in complete disbelief. It's like a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like it almost got to the point, or it's actually at the point where years back I would say to you, "But you see what happened, or you heard what happened," and you say, "Get the fuck out of here." When? I never even heard that. Or, "Are you serious that happened?" Now, people will text me or send me something or say, "Boy, you see what happened?" And I go, "Of course. Yeah, of course that happened.
Yeah.
Why would you think that wouldn't happen?" Or, you can't shock me anymore.
You become numb.
You shock me when something didn't happen.
Right.
I say, yo, that thing that you thought was going to happen with this vaccine and stuff like that, now they're fighting it. You're not going to have to get the vaccine. I'd say, are you serious? Bro, now I'm shocked. Now I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Because the right thing is happening, not
say,
the bizarro world.
Yes,
yep.
Right. The parallel
You know what I'm
universe,
noticing?
The bizarro world.
We're so detached right now.
You know what I'm noticing with
that's
you,
the problem. There's no consequence or there's no ramifications because everybody's detached from actual existence.
Yeah.
They just
Big
it's
time.
a virtual world. It's a fake world.